The question had lingered for years, whispered in interviews, splashed across tabloids, dissected by millions of fans. What's really going on between Sam Heughan and Caitriona Balfe? For nearly a decade, Sam had managed to dodge the rumors with charm and humor. He'd laugh them off, smile for the cameras, and say something diplomatic like, "We're just great friends." But this time was different. Sitting in front of a live studio audience during a promotional interview, the host leaned forward and asked, "Sam, after all these years, can you finally tell us the truth about you and Caitriona?" Sam paused. Not the kind of pause meant for dramatic effect, but the kind that comes when words carry weight. He smiled faintly, eyes thoughtful. "After all these years, maybe it's time to talk," he said quietly. The audience fell silent. From the moment Outlander premiered, Sam and Caitriona's chemistry was undeniable. The way they looked at each other, the tenderness in their scenes, the laughter between takes, it all felt too real. Fans around the world were convinced the love story of Jamie and Claire had spilled into real life. Sam Kate became an online phenomenon, with countless fan pages, theories, and photos scrutinized down to the smallest detail. For Sam, what started as admiration quickly turned into suffocating attention. Every glance, every word, every smile, he once said, was turned into something it wasn't. Reporters asked about Caitriona more than his own projects. Headlines blurred fiction and reality until even casual gestures became evidence. Behind the glamour, there was exhaustion. Caitriona, graceful as always, tried to ignore it, but sometimes, late at night after long shoots, the weight showed. Sam remembered one night in particular, early in the show's run. They had just wrapped an emotional scene, one that left both of them raw. She sat quietly on the edge of the set, tears in her eyes. "It's too much sometimes," she whispered. "I just want people to see the work, not us." Sam had no words. He simply sat beside her, silent. In that moment, he understood. Their friendship wasn't just about shared laughter, it was built on shared burden. Over time, the noise grew louder. The press speculated about secret relationships, affairs, hidden rendezvous. When Caitriona married in 2019, the internet exploded. Fans demanded explanations, some even accusing her of betrayal. Sam stayed quiet. That was the hardest part, he later admitted. Watching someone you care about being attacked for something that was never real. He could have spoken out. He could have defended her, denied everything. But he didn't. Instead, he chose silence. "I made her a promise," he told the interviewer, his voice lower now, his usual playfulness gone. "I told her I'd never let this." He gestured vaguely toward the flashing cameras, the tabloids, the social media frenzy, "come between us. That whatever happened, I'd protect her from all of it." The host leaned forward. "And did you?" Sam looked down for a moment before answering. "I tried, but the thing about silence is, people mistake it for guilt. They think if you don't explain yourself, you must be hiding something. But sometimes silence is just," he paused, searching for the right word, kindness. The audience remained hushed, captivated. The man who had spent years avoiding the subject was finally revealing the pain behind his restraint. He continued, "Caitriona is one of the most extraordinary people I've ever met. We went through things no one will ever understand. The early years of Outlander were intense. We were young, overwhelmed, suddenly part of something much bigger than us. And through all of it, she was my anchor." His words carried no bitterness, only warmth, the kind of affection that lingers long after love stories fade. "But somewhere along the way," he said softly, "people stopped seeing two actors doing their jobs, and started seeing characters they wanted to exist in real life. And we became trapped in that illusion." The interviewer hesitated. "So, was there ever something more?" Sam exhaled, his expression unreadable. "There was something," he said finally. "But not what people think." The room held its breath. He didn't elaborate. Instead, he smiled, that quiet, bittersweet smile that fans knew too well, and said, "Maybe someday I'll tell you about it. But for now, I'll just say this. Caitriona will always mean more to me than anyone will ever understand." And with that, He looked away, as if revisiting a memory only he could see. The clip went viral within hours. Fans called it a bombshell. Some claimed it was a confession, others called it closure. But everyone agreed on one thing. For the first time in years, Sam Heughan had finally let the truth slip through the silence. What no one knew, however, was that his story wasn't finished. Because behind that tender confession lay a promise, one he had kept hidden all this time. A promise that explained everything about the man he had become. A week after that interview, Sam Heughan appeared again. This time not on a glamorous talk show, but at a small charity event in Glasgow. The air felt different. There were no rehearsed smiles, no flashing lights. Just Sam, standing before a quiet audience, speaking from a place of calm. Someone inevitably brought up the viral clip. "You said there was something between you and Caitriona," a journalist asked gently. "What did you mean by that?" Sam didn't avoid the question this time. He took a slow breath, folded his hands, and said, "People think love only means romance. But sometimes, it's something else entirely, something quieter, something that doesn't need to be claimed." He looked thoughtful, his voice steady but soft. "Caitriona and I shared a journey that changed both of us. We met as strangers, grew together through chaos, and built something real: trust, respect, and care. That's not a rumor. That's the truth." The room was silent, every word hanging heavy in the air. Sam continued, "The hardest part wasn't the lies, or the stories. It was watching how people's fantasies tried to rewrite our reality. They wanted us to be their dream couple, not two people with real lives, real choices. But I loved her, not in the way they imagined, but in a way that still matters deeply." He paused again, glancing toward the audience, his eyes glassy under the soft lights. "When she got married, I was happy for her. Truly. But a part of me also knew that something had ended, not because of distance, or fame, but because life moves. And sometimes the best way to love someone is to let them go and wish them peace." That line, "the best way to love someone is to let them go," spread across the internet within hours. Fans shared it with broken heart emojis, calling it one of Sam's most emotional statements ever. But what few realized was that his words came from a place of deep reflection, not regret. After years of silence, Sam was finally explaining why he had never fought the rumors, never corrected the endless headlines. "I made a promise to her years ago," he admitted. "We were sitting together one night, after another storm of stories broke online. She looked tired, really tired, and she said, 'Can we just not feed it anymore?' So I told her, 'I'll stay quiet if you do. We'll protect what's real by not explaining it.' And we did, for years." He smiled faintly, remembering. That promise kept our friendship alive. It kept us human in a world that tried to turn us into fiction. Then came the twist no one expected. Sam revealed that during one of their last major press tours together, Caitriona had given him a handwritten letter. "I've never shared this before," he said carefully, "but it's something I keep with me." He didn't read the whole letter aloud, but he quoted one line. "No matter what the world says, you'll always be my person. The one who saw me when no one else did." The audience fell utterly silent. Sam looked down, visibly emotional. "That's what people never understood," he said quietly. "It was never about scandal or secrecy. It was about protecting something sacred in a world that turns everything into noise." Reporters later described that moment as one of the rawest in his career, a glimpse into a man who had spent years walking the fine line between truth and privacy. Caitriona, when asked to comment days later, posted a single message on social media. "Some bonds don't need labels, just respect." And just like that, the rumors faded. Not because people stopped caring, but because they finally understood. The silence had never been distance. It had been loyalty. In the weeks that followed, Sam seemed lighter, more open. When fans brought up Caitriona at conventions, he smiled genuinely and said, "We'll always have that story, and that's enough." He didn't dodge or deflect anymore. He had made peace with it. During his final speech at the event, he left the audience with one last thought, a kind of closing chapter. Fame teaches you to protect your heart, he said. But sometimes you meet someone who makes you forget why you built those walls. Caitriona was that person for me. She reminded me that love doesn't always end, sometimes it just changes shape. He stepped off stage to a standing ovation, not for a revelation, but for his honesty. For the first time in years, there were no secrets left to chase, no rumors left to explain, only truth, spoken softly but clearly. And as Sam walked away, smiling to himself, it was obvious that this wasn't a goodbye. It was gratitude, to the woman who had been his anchor, his muse, and his quiet constant through a decade of storms.